Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. We're doing the angel Kafziel. And the term Kafziel means like hand of God or God's hand. And this angel has a lot to do with the self, like self-mastery, self-control, self-awareness, regulation of the emotions, so emotional control, so like self-control, a lot of things that are self-oriented. And also emotional healing, reflection, meditation, basically like when we want to turn inward or reflect on the self. So you could say that this angel is associated with um, self-awareness on some level and becoming more aware of the self or self-awakening, right? So with that, we're going to do a process. So go ahead and pull out the angelic blend. And we're going to do this both with the name, like repeating the name, and with the oil. And we're going to focus on the solar plexus. The solar plexus is the aspect of ourselves that is about the self. Like the heart has to do with others, how we think and feel and how we interact with the others. The solar plexus has to do with the self. So we're going to use this angelic energy and we're going to go into a deeper process in the energy body using the energy of this angel. So the first thing you're going to do is just be aware. You're being aware of yourself, your body, your emotions, your mind. You're taking a moment and reflecting. If you have some emotional pattern or mental pattern that's been coming up, something going on in your world, reflect on that. Okay, now let it all go. Your awareness is on your front solar plexus, that area below your ribs, on your upper abdomen. And before we inhale, we're just going to do it with the name. So your awareness is on your front solar plexus. And silently in your mind, repeat calf, Z, L. Calf, Z, L. Calf, Z, L. Calf, Z, L. Again, calf, Z L. Calf Z L. Calf Z L. Your awareness is on the back solar plexus, that mid back area below the shoulder blades. With your awareness on your back solar plexus, calf Z L. Calf Z L. Calf Z L. Calf Z L. Now we're going to move our awareness up to the jaws where they hinge, like right in this area, right in front of the ear. Your awareness is on the jaw. Keep your awareness on the jaw. Your awareness is on the jaw. Your awareness is on the jaw. Calf, Z, L. Calf, Z, L. Calf, Z, L. Now you're going to the back of your throat, the middle of the back of your neck. Your awareness on the back of your neck. Repeat. Calf, Z, L. Calf, Z, L. So if you notice yourself, your body, your emotions, and your mind, you're kind of starting to go into like a place that's almost like a meditative state, or maybe just pre-meditative, but it's like if I said, let's chant home and meditate, it would be much easier to do right now than it was 20 minutes ago, right? And that's the thing with Kafziel. Each angel has like kind of a different energy, a different vibe. It's an energy with consciousness that comes in. But for us to be able to have contemplation, self reflection, self awareness, part of what's happening is we're calming down the body. And the body is really more of the instinctive responses. And so, as the instinctive responses calm down, part of what happens is we slow down our production of lower emotion, but we also process our lower emotion, right? So then the emotional body calms down and it really starts to pave the way for a greater activation of the heart. And then when the emotional body becomes quiet, we then start to have greater mental activity, right? And so eventually that quiets down, and then eventually we have greater spiritual activity, right? So the seed for greater activity comes from, well, we calm down. If we calm down the body, the seed for greater emotional activity is there. When the emotions calm, the seed for greater mental activity is there. And when the mind calms, the seed for greater spiritual activity is there. It's mechanically something that just happens, right? So if we start with calming the body, right, when we start calming the body, emotions follow, the mind follows, the spiritual experience or the spiritual development, the spiritual acceleration, it follows. So we just have to engage the process. We have to engage the steps. So we're going to take the angel blend Kafziel, and let's start inhaling with our awareness on the front solar plexus. Your awareness is on the front solar plexus. You're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. Your awareness on the front solar plexus, nice, long, slow, deep breaths. If you don't have the blend, then just keep repeating the name with your awareness on the solar plexus. You're still on the front solar plexus. You're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. And then just pause and be still. Okay, no. Okay, so we did the front solar plexus. Now let's do the back solar plexus. So your awareness is on the back solar plexus, that mid-back area, below your shoulder blades. Your back solar plexus, you're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. You're inhaling, your awareness is on the back solar plexus. You're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. And then just pause. Pause and let it go for a moment. Let everything go. Your eyes are closed. You're just being still. Feels very quiet to you or no? Yeah, Samantha's saying, she goes, I don't know what's happening, but I could just easily fall asleep. And yeah, I mean, right before we walked in here, she was bouncing around, singing, doing her Samantha thing every day. And all of a sudden, it's like now she has her inner pajamas on, and it's like, shh. That's just the solar plexus. We're going to do another round on the solar plexus. Remember, the solar plexus is associated with the lower emotions, right? So we're trying to calm that down, helping to regulate that, which brings a greater level of balance to your physiology. Okay, so again, on your front solar plexus, that area below your ribs, on your upper abdomen, nice, long, slow, deep breaths. You're on your front solar plexus. You're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. And then pause. Pause and be still. Your awareness is on the back solar plexus, that mid back area. You're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. And then just pause. Pause and be still. Now, your awareness is up on your jaws. Your awareness is up on your jaws. You're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. And then pause. Let's do the jaws again. Nice, long, slow, deep breaths with your awareness on the jaws. Doing nice, long, slow, deep breaths with your awareness on the jaws. And then just pause. Okay. Last spot. Let's go to the back throat, the middle of the back of your neck. Nice, long, slow, deep breaths with your awareness on the back throat. the middle of the back of your throat. You're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. Pause and be still. Just pause and be still. Keep your eyes closed. Just let it incubate for a moment. And just being still. That treat you. Let's go ahead and do shares and questions. We're going to do more, but let's talk it out first. Shares, questions. You can unmute yourself, type in. Let's go ahead and process and see how you're doing. Very different than the angel we did last week and every week. You know, they all have their own little signature, you could say. So
I really love how I was about to fall asleep. And then when we were still and just letting it incubate, it was almost like my eyes like popped open, like, okay, like I don't know, kind of like some reset. My heart feels bigger. It's very cool. Someone else shared, feels sleepy, like just after the toning.
Mhm.
And then It felt like I got up from long sleep.
Hmm.
Similar. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
And this is an angel that's been around for a while. It's not one that just came out in the encyclopedia. It's been around in some classes, like probably even 5, 6 years ago, like even longer, maybe 7, 8 years ago, maybe.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
I remember that one specific. But we have a different experience when we
Yeah,
do
yeah. It's
this.
the first time we've really gone super deep.
Yeah. Someone's asking what is in this blend.
Let's see. Yeah, so it's mugwort, St. John's wort, petitgrain, um, mastic, camphor, and then palo santo, and then palo santo fruit, which has a kind of a softer vibe than just regular palo santo. Regular palo santo is made with the wood. The fruit's actually kind of rare. As far as essential oils go, it's not a very common one. Um, but I find it's a lot softer and it has a deeper impact on the emotions. So I said mastic, right?
Let
Yeah.
me write down.
Mastic, mugwort, St. John's wort, petitgrain, camphor. Yeah.
Someone shared the mind feels calm and
Yeah.
still.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We're going to do kind of a meditation, but I still want to visit the solar plexus a little bit. So we're still going to work the front and back solar plexus, and then we're going to slip right into doing a little bit of an angelic meditation. So you're still using the oil. If you don't have the oil, then you can say the word over and over again on the different areas, right? So your awareness again is going to be on the front solar plexus. You're going to take nice, long, slow, deep breaths. And then your back solar plexus, your mid back area below the shoulder blades. Your awareness is on the back solar plexus. You're taking nice, long, slow, deep breath. And then just pause and be still. So there's different ways that we could do meditation here. We might explore a couple of different ways. The very first way we're going to do uh, your awareness is on your front heart. Begin inhaling the Kafziel with your awareness on your front heart. Move your awareness to the back heart, that area between your shoulder blades. Move your awareness down to the navel. And then your awareness is on the crown. And then pause and be still. Okay, so let's do another round of that. Front, heart, nice, long, slow, deep breaths. Your awareness is on the back heart, that area between the shoulder blades. Your awareness is on the back heart. You're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. Your awareness is on your navel. You're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. And then the crown. The awareness is on top of your head, the crown. And then pause. Now, as we go through and do this, in between the cycles, you could also spend time like observing different situations. And instead of doing the situational awareness and the body awareness, you just kind of observe the situation and then we cycle through, right? And this pattern also helps with calming down dysregulation. And then you take that with the quality of the angel itself. It helps you to become more insightful and have greater levels of clarity in these situations, right? So let's do that. Let's observe, just kind of bounce around, look at different situations that are going on in your life. You're observing different situations. And if you wish, you could even observe things within yourself. And you're letting go of the observation. You're letting go of everything. Again, you're inhaling. Your awareness is on the front heart. Your awareness is on the back heart. Your awareness is on the navel. And then your crown. Your awareness is on your crown. That's it. And pause and be still. So notice how you feel. And I'd say, like, you're having the experience where you're just having all these different reactions. Like, she's knocked out and then she's wide awake. And then, if she's, she's just, yeah, she's having a bunch of yawning. Like, there's all these variations. And if you think about it, a lot of times when we're coming from the intellectual mind, we're in a repetitive pattern. And we have the expectation that everything's going to be the same, you know. But when we're in the middle of a process, there's movement. And it's like a journey. It's like, oh, I'm driving in the car and there's mountains, and then there's a meadow, and then there's rolling hills, and then there's, everything keeps changing as you keep moving forward. And the same thing can happen to us. And one of the things that I would say is Kafziel is also associated with transitions. So we're having like an internal transition. You might be transitioning through something that you're aware of. It just might be that you're transitioning out of a way of thinking, or some sort of loop or pattern that you're stuck in. Capsule helps keep that movement happening, especially when it's something that's like a difficult thing, like some sort of difficult thing that you're transitioning through or working through. Now, Just because it's difficult doesn't mean that it has to be painful. It doesn't mean that it has to be dramatic. It doesn't mean we have to relive it, and we doesn't have to be that we have to sacrifice something. Sometimes it's just literally like, I'm gonna get up and walk over there. Like it literally can just be, I'm moving out of this. Where the intellect goes, ugh, it's got to have drama. It's got to have this. It's got to have that. It's got to look a certain way. I have to suffer to get through it. When literally it's just like, yeah, I'm just not going to do this anymore. Okay. And then you move out of it. Right. And so Kafziel is very interesting. They all have their personalities, like I said, but like that inward movement or even the outward movement. You're balancing out your nervous system, you're balancing out the emotions, but as you have movement in these different situations, and it might be some difficult thing. When we have a difficult thing, the tendency is we back off of it, we get protective, we get stressed about it, we might avoid it. But when Kafziel is being used or being invoked, it's like Kafziel just kind of grabs our hand and goes, "Come on, we're just going to walk through this. Try not to look at it too much. We're just going to get to the other side, and then we'll see how you're doing." Right. And so you don't even have to pick what it is, it just starts cleaning things up. And you might be aware of what you're moving out of, you might not. But basically what you're doing is you're getting out of degenerative cycles. Sometimes we think like, oh, I'm having this difficulty, I'm having that difficulty, but really what's happening is we're in a degenerative cycle where it's maybe causing harm to our physiology, it's causing harm to our emotions, and it might even be causing us to go to a place where it diminishes our ability to get out of the situation, right? So the idea of transitioning out of something like this, it's not just like, oh, I want a little bit of relief. It's that it starts to hit root causes of issues in the body, in the emotions, and root causes that would reinforce negative patterns in our life. Or we might not have a lot of areas where we're in a downward spiral, but everybody's got something, right? So it diminishes those areas where we're spiraling downward and we're degenerating, and we're not even holding our own. We're just slowly kind of marching towards this mm, greater level of difficulty, or whatever it might be. But anyway, let's go ahead and do shares and questions. You can unmute yourself. You could type in. We're still going to do a little bit more, but I still just want to talk some of this out if you guys want to.
Yeah, go ahead, Laura.
Hey, Laura.
Hey, Greg. Um, I think that I've heard you say that you work an angel quite frequently for multiple days in a row, and
Yes.
then, um, and I've found lately that I'm picking a different angel every time, and I
Oh, that's okay.
probably okay.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
and then when we do this, then when we do one, I think, oh, I need to work that a lot.
You're right.
So I was that I guess I was trying to ask that question. So both of them are okay.
But both, yeah. And the thing that I would say is, like when we're learning something or we're getting used to something, the repetition of it, or like, okay, we're going to do this 3 days a week. I think that's all good. Like, I think that's helpful. It helps you get an idea of what you're dealing with. It increases your awareness of things because you're having experiences. But at some point you can go, I'm setting down the the repetition, or the idea that I need to do this every 3 days, or whatever it is, whatever kind of schedule it is. And it just starts to be like this inner like experience where you go, I'm just going to work this for a little bit. And sometimes it might be one sitting, and sometimes it's for 2 or 3 weeks. And I don't think there's a have to or need to or supposed to. I think that uh I don't know. We have a kind of guidance, like you're really starting to tap into a type of synchronicity. Like without going into too many details, I'm going to tell this little like quick story. So with that,
I was just thinking
yeah.
about it.
So I was watching this show. It's a silly show, like but it's just one of the ways I decompress sometimes late at night. Now I was watching this show, and they kept talking about this musician. And it was just really soft kind of ambient music that they were playing in the show, and I was like, huh, I've never heard of this person. Like I'm very aware of all that kind of genre. I've never heard of them. And so it kept coming up in the show, and I was like, who is this guy? So I start doing this dive of like, who is this person? And I can't find him anywhere. And so I keep doing this dive and doing this dive. And this other person's name came up, not anything to do with a musician. It's like some weird doctor. And I was like, not even the same name. It's just this name came up. And then I'm like, uh, okay, whatever. And then I find that that musician is a fictional character in this show. It's nothing real, right? So I was like, huh, okay. And so, like, a day or two goes by, and now I'm doing a deep dive on something for healing, and it's about detoxification and um, like how to heal this certain kind of condition. And I have oils and things that will work for that, but I'm like, I want to come at it like stronger. When somebody has an issue, I want to be able to come up with it stronger. Well, whose name comes up but that weird doctor, you know? And I'm like, huh, that's weird. And, you know, the first thing that I would do is like, oh, it's probably some weird multi-level thing, and I would blow it off. But because I already had this weird exposure to it, I was like, well, kind of curious that that happened. So I do this deep dive on this doctor, and it's exactly what I was looking for. It was like, bam, that's it. And so had I done like a regular deep dive, it wouldn't have happened. But like when you start having this like experience, and you kind of get these like little nudges or these little flashes of like, oh, maybe I should do this. Oh, maybe I should do that. Or, oh, here's this name. Or, oh, here's that name. It's almost like this kind of synchronicity where you're starting to align with the intuitive process, where karma is actually an intellectual process. It is tied to your intellect. It is tied to the repetitive processes. And so when you start stepping into more of the intuitive thing, you can kind of go, what's going on here? Let's see where this takes me. Let's see where this guides me. And you kind of just start paying attention to like your surroundings and the things that come up or come up in front of you. And there are these little like things that can guide you to something deeper that you're trying to find in your subconscious or unconscious. And like my story is a very simple thing. It's not some big deep thing, but you know, there's a kind of guidance that happens with just being like open and a little bit curious. And I think the thing with the angels is So much of us, we want to go to that intellectual thing where I'm going to have a schedule and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do a technique. And that's literally what the angels are trying to break you out of. Like, really, we want to be kind of open and curious. And it doesn't mean that we jump on everything that crosses our path, but we're just kind of looking for like patterns and little kinds of guidance that might come our way. And then the curiosity goes, let's go down that rabbit hole. And so the idea of an angel, a different angel every time you sit down or once a day, and then sometimes you get on it for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Um, I would let that unfold in a way rather than feeling I need to do this or I should do that or this is my pattern or this is my schedule because you're really developing this other part of the intuitive mind and it's kind of a nice and safe way to do it rather than being in some sort of crisis when you're trying to develop it or somewhere like, ugh, I have to produce a result right here. You kind of just in a playful way, you go, okay, I'm going to play with this angel and see what happens. And then you keep having those experiences, and pretty soon before you know it, you have a skill set. You have this skill set of a kind of guidance that wouldn't have happened if you were left to your intellectual processes. And so I like where you're going with that, is basically what I'm saying.
Thank you. I think I need to try both and see what works
Yeah.
and just play with it.
But like I think the thing that I would say is it doesn't have to be preconceived. It can be just in the moment. Like whatever it is, it's just in the moment. If the
And that's
moment
what I've been
says
doing.
perfect, if the moment says let's do this one over and over again, then I'd follow that moment. And if the moment goes, let's try a different one, then I would just do what that moment says.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
I'm really enjoying the angels.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Good. I'm so happy.
And go ahead, Dan.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, um, this is a little weird. I was a bit itchy when we were doing the processing, so I took that as flushing something out.
Yeah, sometimes you're fleshing out like the like something to do with the state of the body. And it's not even usually coming out of the chakras. It's usually coming out of like the soft tissue or like deep within the spine. And it just kind of it's like your body is throwing something off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I had a procedure done yesterday.
Uh-huh.
So, with anesthesia and
Oh, it could have been that. Yeah,
I
sure.
was wondering if that was kind of physiologically
Sure.
related to
Yeah,
that
yeah.
because I haven't had that kind of situation. Well, I haven't been pushing things off or rolling things off, if you will. So
Hmm.
just seemed a little more intense today. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it could be that.
okay, okay,
Yeah, yeah, it could be that.
yeah.
But
Well,
any time that we're having a sort of shift, it's not just our mind that shifts, it's also the consciousness of the body. And when the consciousness of the body shifts, it does, it's like if you think of like meditation is displacing lower vibrational energy and helping light to come in or helping to reorganize the form. Part of that is it's throwing something off. And so anytime that there's a shift in the body, you are going to throw something off.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. I've been kind of open to a new path, if you will, like
Mhm.
consciously open to it lately. And I think you'd mentioned this before that things that seemed like automatic, like when you stick your hand to pick up something up, it's like you fumble it or you get your hand caught in the microwave or something like that, right?
Mhm.
So it's like that's kind of an indicator as a shift. Your body is shifting kind of thing, right? Because you're not doing the same automatic patterns as you were. I recall you saying something.
Yeah, let me think that out for a minute. Yeah, like you're talking about just like those little things that you don't really think about, and like you said, they're just kind of automatic and
Yeah,
yeah. I
kind of uncoordinated sort
yeah, I would say for myself, um, like when things like that happen, you know, because even when things are automatic, they're still like you're not necessarily trying to think you know because it's like you don't have to think out and think the deep philosophical thing about opening and closing a microwave door,
of.
right?
Right.
But there is like a little bit of a deeper level of like conscious awareness, even though you're going through an automatic behavior. And so I would say that, like, when I'm not sure about for you, but like for me, when I start having those things, it's like uh, being more aware of the body, like kind of bringing everything down into the body. Because, like, I'll start having those kinds of situations where, like, um, you know, say I have a meditation or I do some ceremony or something, and I'm like, oh, I feel so present. And then I knock a bunch of crap over and I do something and I'm like, not completely in my body. You know, I'm out here and it feels amazing. But as far as bringing that consciousness down into the body is sometimes takes a little effort, especially, you know, when you're doing spiritual practice. And sometimes for me, you know, like even like bottling, I'll sit and bottle for hours and hours and, you know, like focus, 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 focus. And then I get up and I start walking around and I notice like I bump into a couple things and, you
Mhm.
know, the focus was one particular area, but like I still got to shift the awareness to the surroundings or the different actions that I might be taking. And so, you know, you're even though it might be something automatic to be able to be like aware in that automatic like behavior and thing and like it's almost like you're in a place of observation of it happening, you know, because like when we're in that observation mode, it is the soul observing what's happening. And so even though it's I'm opening the microwave and closing it, it still increases that soul connection in those situations. I don't know if I answered your question, by the way.
Yeah, you will. Yeah,
Okay.
you
I'm
kind
not sure. At one point, I just felt like I'm just talking, and you know, if something's helpful, hopefully,
yeah, I appreciate your
yeah,
feedback though,
yeah.
greatly. Thank you.
You're so welcome. You know what I find helpful for that, by the way, for myself,
Yeah.
vetiver.
Oh,
Vetiver is
that.
incredibly good for that. You know, because vetiver is always about kind of bringing consciousness down into the body.
Okay.
It's always about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a gold quality to vetiver then, or is it just
It
part
can
of?
eventually. Yeah,
Yeah.
it can eventually. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. Got some right here. Thanks.
Perfect. Good, good.
Go ahead, Teresa.
Hey, hey.
Hi. That was interesting. I thought nothing's happening. And then like my eyes got weepy, and then
Yeah.
an ugly cry, and then another ugly cry.
Yeah. Like I was saying, like sometimes we're transitioning through something, especially, you know, if you think about like part of the quality of working with this angel is you kind of come to that stillness or that peace that's in meditation. But sometimes with meditation, you get there and something bubbles up, and then it's like, okay, now what do I do about it? Or how do I handle it or whatever? And that's the beautiful thing about working with Kafziel is it takes you to that meditative place. And when something bubbles up, it generates the movement to help you transition out of whatever that is, you know. And it's an old mystical idea or concept that, you know, the idea of heaven is not, you know, they would say it's not here, there, or anywhere, it's inside of you. You know, heaven
Yeah.
your ability to experience heaven is inside of you, but also your ability to experience hell, right? Like
Yeah.
it's also hell's not here, there, anywhere. It's also inside you,
Yeah.
right? And so that ability to transition out of something, what we would call hell is just the repetitiveness of something that's causing, that where it causes us suffering, or we're suffering in the loop, but we're stuck in the loop and we can't get out. And
Yep.
so transitioning out of that just simply means you're stepping out of the loop.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
all it really means. But from the intellectual point of view, it's like, well, I got to do this and I got to do that, and it's going to look like this, and then I need to do this, and then it's got to be a little dramatic, and it's got to, it's got to feel like this, like we have all these preconceived ideas when really it's just like, no, I'm just gonna pick my ball up and go home. I'm kind of done. Like I don't want
Yeah.
to anymore.
Yeah. No, I like that. I also like it's a good anchoring visual for me. Just gonna walk you through this, and you don't need to keep looking at it anymore. Like my mind's been
Yeah,
grinding on it for so long, and
right.
I was gonna ask something, but I think it just kind of disappeared. Um, huh. Oh, that's interesting. So I had a release near that, like there was a jam almost in that fleshy part by the occiput.
Mhm.
So is when that gets blocked, is it just stuck energy or is it
It, it's it can be like a blockage in the overall autonomic nervous system. So it's usually some sort of dysregulation that can
okay?
happen. And, you could say it's like, basically stress or fight flight. But even if you look at it from the point of view of the Ming Men, which is the
Hmm.
low backside of the navel, that is constantly shooting energy up. And it's also tied to your adrenals and the fight flight mechanisms, but it's also associated with transmuting and vagal tone and things like that. And so when something is causing us like a stress state, the Mingmen overactivates and tries to transmute it. And so the energy goes up and gets stuck at the base of
Got
the
it.
skull.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the base of the skull, like if you go deeper, is like kind of the mothership for fight, flight, and rest and repeat. Like it's, the midbrain and like that
Yeah.
whole area. So like when you start unwinding stuff there, it usually has like a cascading effect on the whole system. The
Sure.
the interesting thing is there's a more potent way, you can go to the like base of your skull, how
Hmm.
we put the oils back there and everything.
Yeah.
That's one way to access it, but there's another way of accessing it from the front. It's
Hmm.
kind of a little bit difficult, but like if you practice it enough, you can go, and there's a little minor energy center that's it faces forward, but it's like deep, deep, deep,
Okay.
deep back there. And so, at some point, things will start coming off the face. And once
Hmm.
that is, then you can kind of follow it back in. But it takes a long time of unwinding things at the base of the skull. That's why we're always putting stuff at the base of the skull. We're
So,
prepping for a deeper practice at some point.
so is that the glabella that you're referring to?
That I'm referring to, I've never known it to have a name.
Okay.
Um, Uh, I'm sure in some inner practice they have a name for it, but
Okay.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
I
I've
just
never
did,
known it to
did.
have a name. Yeah.
Okay. I did.
You see it sometimes in symbols, like symbolism, but
Hmm.
even then, the symbols don't even, like if you read some sort of a description, it doesn't even touch what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I kind of got a little bit of a visual deep inside, and I did. Anyway, it was interesting. It's a release now, which is great.
Oh, good.
And I'm a part of the carry all the angels in your pocket or pick them up and walk around club. So we
Yeah, yeah,
had
yeah.
Uriel and Jophiel today, and this
Nice.
one's been great. So um, I
Very
always
good.
I always think, do I need another angel? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get another one. So thank you. Who doesn't need more angels?
Right, right.
Thanks, Greg.
You're so welcome.
And go ahead, Lucinda.
Hey, Lucinda.
Let's get you unmuted.
Oh, I think I got it. Thanks.
There you go.
So this is so interesting because it was like the perfect angel for things that happened today, and most of my questions were kind of answered. But so I'll just sort of uh, go on with what like happened. Um, First of all, it left me like queasy and just totally wiped out. And
The angel did, or what
yeah,
happened
the
with you?
angel.
Okay.
Well, what happened had me like so emotional all day that I think just maybe letting go was
Yeah. Yeah.
um but then I also had this insight of because I'm reading the email description of what Kafziel does, and I'm like, so I'm sort of hoping or expecting or wanting something to happen. I had this insight of like, you react to these things the same way you did as a kid, and this is
Yes.
why.
Right.
So I guess
Right.
the question is working with Cafiel transforming all of that. It doesn't really transform the situation,
Yeah.
but how you react to it.
Yeah. That's what we were kind of talking about that
Yeah,
for
that's
the
what I
angel
thought. So
heart class coming up. Like even in last weekend when we were doing the shielding, the spiritual shielding kind of plays into that. But it's really all of the angels, you could say, kind of fall into that because the more that we keep working angels, at first it's really kind of hitting our head and our upper centers, and it's stimulating the pineal gland and the mental permanent seed or the blue pearl. But then at some point, the energy starts dropping down into the heart, which is the part associated with the form, with like the body, the incarnated soul, and so part of what happens when we have situations, difficulties, distress, instability, whatever it is, even though we get ourselves to this like nice, like peaceful place and we get our feet under us or like, oh, I feel good. And then, something hits the fan. And then what happens is we revert back to like ways of behaving where we had some intense emotion or we had some intense stress or some intense trauma. And a lot of it is usually either a significant event or series of events or things that like how we managed those things when we were a child, like when we were young. And so we revert back to those old neural pathways. And then we kind of untangle from them and we get back to where we are now. And then something happens and boom, you go back to that old neural pathway. And so the idea being that the more that light comes into the heart, part of what's happening as the light comes into the heart, energetically, you're anchoring that light, and the intuitive mind and the heart and the intuitive mind are having a kind of union where it really helps guide us in our world, and we're establishing new neural pathways. But if we look at it from a physiological point of view, what's happening is you're shifting your prefrontal cortex, and your prefrontal cortex has a lot to do with actions. It's like how we act in these situations. And basically, what you're doing is you're creating these new neural pathways to act on rather than reverting back to those old ways of doing things. And so Kafziel would definitely do it, but I would say all the angels do it. And there's going to be some that might resonate more with you than with me. It's going to be different from person to person, but I would say Kafziel probably will resonate with most people in that realm. Like that one's going to hit most people because of the transitioning out of difficult situations, putting you in a deeper meditative state, and the different kinds of like self-awareness, self-control, self-mastery, all of those things are helping you to not go to those old neural pathways and helping you to establish the new neural pathways that are more of like you're choosing rather than the old reactions. And so, if you were choosing an angel specifically for that, definitely Kavziel would make the top three. Easy, like super easy, you could say that.
Yeah, I was even considering the transformational pack that you guys were advertising in the, sorry.
Oh, which one's that?
Uh,
I think it's
It
the
has the roller
Kavziel,
ball and the,
right?
yeah,
I think that's the
Mhm.
Kavziel one,
Yeah, it
right?
is.
yeah, it's Casio one. I was,
Wow.
yes, okay. I mean, it just seems like it's going to take a while because as
Yeah.
soon as I came out of it, it just like bam hit me back again. So
And the thing that I would say about anything like this, when you're making neurological shifts, it's always going to be a lot of little movements. It's
yeah,
not ever going to be like I flick the switch and it's done. It's always going to be little movement, little movement, little movement,
yeah,
little movement, and then pretty soon you'll look back and you go, you know, I haven't done that for a while, or I'm reacting a little bit differently now.
hmm,
Or, we were talking in the office and like you guys were saying, I haven't gotten sick for quite a while, and usually get sick a couple times a year, and not really getting sick. And it's like, again, you don't feel like the switch being flicked, but then you go back and you look and you go, it's been a while since that happened. And even if it happens, it's like I didn't react quite as intensely as I did before. And I pulled out faster and I was more conscious when it was happening so I can make choices. It's going to be a bunch of little movements until pretty soon you just look back and you go, yeah, I used to do that over there.
I am familiar with that. Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome. I'm glad you had a good experience. Sorry you had a bad day, but like I'm glad you had a good experience.
Yeah, thank you.
You're so welcome.
And go ahead, Donita.
Hey,
Hi, Greg. Hi, everyone.
how are you?
Um, uh, this angel was awesome. Um, so I was tired because we had a massive storm. I didn't saw, and I sat down and I was like, looking forward to it. And I just dropped into this stillness and just, it's like in a trance, even without the oil, as you were just
Mhm.
chanting
Yeah,
the
yeah.
name. And then when I brought in the oil, I was in some sort of a awakened trance.
Sure.
It was incredible, and I was awake, and I was at the same time there was so much clarity in in the layered in space within space, layered space, if
Hmm.
that makes sense.
Yeah, makes total sense.
And
Yeah.
movement, lots of faces, but even the faces, there was music, but the faces were not from this era.
Hmm.
They were not like, from us. It was just like different eras. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it was just, yeah, there was just nothing about my life now, to be honest. It was more
Right.
about, it was just, yeah, it's hard for me to even bring it back right now, but there was just a lot of like movement. And then you started saying, when you started talking, you mentioned lots of movement. And I didn't even read about the angel prior to sniffing it. Before we joined, I used the kit of Raphael, by the way,
Hmm.
not
Hmm.
long ago. I'm addicted to your kits.
Hmm. You and me both.
And But
Yeah.
it was like with each pattern, with each like let's do it again, and it was deeper and deeper to the point where my body started twitching. I
Yeah.
had a few deep twitches, like a full body twitches, and it was incredible. I just wanted to share. So nothing of this life, of my actual present moment situation, but it was a kind of like an expansion and a trance and something on a much deeper level that my brain doesn't understand, probably.
Yeah. And if you think about like the transition, sometimes kind of echoing what you're saying is sometimes we've been holding these patterns for a very, very, very long time. And so, we don't just come in and like create all these from scratch. A lot of times we've had momentum from the before times.
Mm.
And you know, you, sometimes I think when things flash in our head, it's a little bit like dreams where, you know, you're having images where that person or the situation or something kind of represents something more than it's actual. But then there's times where it is actual. It is, you're actually passing through some of those things and times, and you'd never really come out of it and go, this happened and that happened. But it's more like, paying attention to something as you're driving down the road, on the freeway. You see a bunch of things that you pass and you kind of look back and you go, whoa, I think I just saw a buffalo. Like maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but you know, uh, the intuitive mind, the more we get used to it, it's very different than the intellect. It's very, very different. And the more we get used to it and get our feet under us, uh, the more active it becomes. The way more active it becomes. And so, those like it's like how somebody has like a near death experience and they go, oh, my life flashed before my eyes. That's just intuitive movement. That's all that is. And so, even in different traditions, they'll say, like, oh, when you meditate, that starts happening more and more without you having a near death experience. It'll start happening to you pretty regularly. And, again, it's a byproduct of the stillness. Like, because if you think of this angel, there was a lot of stillness, but in the stillness, there's a seed of movement. Just like when you inhale, there's a seed for exhalation. Like, you don't have to figure out, like, I got a bunch of air in my lungs. Now I got to figure out how to get it out. Ugh. And then you exhale and you go, okay, now how do I get more air in? It's just like you inhale, the seed for exhalation is there. And then you exhale, and the seed for inhalation is there. And so you bring stillness to the body, the seed for greater emotional activity is there. You calm the emotions, the seed for greater mental activity is there. You calm the mind, the seed for greater spiritual activity is there. You calm the intellect, the seed for greater intuitive activity is there. And then even there's like stairs or steps that keep going up higher and higher.
That's that, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah,
But that the whole, like, I'm still sitting because remember we've been doing this, the surrounding with the white light,
sure.
pure white light, and this in the beginning, like with that space I was saying, so it felt like it was just the white light, like it was the field, but it was like in a just stop, like stillness and clarity, and I could see the layers, and then all the movement was happening
Hmm.
within it. It was just like a 3D kind of 5D, whatever you call it. It was just incredible to actually be in the center of it, just witnessing, feeling it, and observing it without, like, my body was relaxed with all of that. It was
Yeah.
not throwing a tantrum at all. It was pretty cool.
Very nice.
Pretty cool. It was like a very experiential experience, I think. Oh, I don't know the words and I have no idea, but it just, so it will keep on going. It will keep on giving,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The kit is on the way.
All right.
Thank you.
And I think we have a few more minutes for just a little bit
Yeah.
more.
How about um if you want, inhale the oil and I'll say the name at the same time. So maybe put your awareness on the back heart. Let's just jump right to the back heart. Inhale with your awareness on the back heart. Good. Z. Z. Okay, so we have to slide over to the Tuesday night prayer petition blessing. But if you want to slide over there with us, we're going to continue with what we were just doing with the Kafziel. And so we can deepen what we're doing and just transition over to the next stream. So thanks for joining us. Next week is the Archangel Kamiel.